Welcome to Tantrum House Studio D. I'm Kevin Delp.
And I'm Melissa Delp.
Today we're looking at a prototype of Arcane Alley. Arcane Alley is a 2 to 6 player set collection press your luck card game that plays in about 45 minutes. It's designed by Corwin Riddle, is published by Strange Space Games. It'll be on Kickstarter November 2018.
You're playing as wizards who are trying to sell items on the black magic market. Now you have to create sets of these items in order to sell them for gold. Now you don't want to have too much left over in your storehouse though, or you're going to fail the inspection. The goal is to have the most gold.
Let's look at the prototype components. There's a game board, item cards, wizard cards, player aids, score markers, and skull tokens.
The game is played over multiple rounds with 4 phases: stock, sell, inspection, and bribe. In the stock phase, each player is dealt 2 cards for their hand, called their stash. They're also dealt 9 face-down cards into a 3x3 grid. This grid is your storehouse. Before moving to the next phase, you choose 2 cards in your storehouse to flip face up.
In the sell phase, players take turns. You start your turn by drawing a card, either from the discard pile or from the draw deck. Then you can either discard a card from your hand, or you can play a card. To play an item card into your storehouse, you choose which card to replace. Play the card into the grid, and then reveal and discard the replaced item.
If you make a set of 3 of the same item, either vertically, horizontally, or diagonally, you sell the set for the amount of gold indicated. You don't refill your storehouse. You slide the cards together to make a smaller storehouse.
The end of the sell phase is triggered when one person has no more face-down cards in their storehouse. Everyone else gets one more turn, and then we go into the inspection phase. Each player flips any remaining face-down cards face up. If you make a set, you sell it. Then each player adds up the infamy value of the cards in their storehouse and move their infamy marker. If you trigger the inspection phase, but another player earns less infamy than you, you gain an extra 10 infamy.
You don't want infamy. If you pass 24 on the track, you have to take a skull token. If you have any skulls, you fail the inspection and have to pay a fine of 25 gold to remove each skull token.
The final phase of the round is the bribe phase, where you can spend gold to reduce your infamy level. Then you pass the first player marker and a new round begins.
The game is over when at least one player has 100 or more gold at the end of the inspection phase. Then the player with the most gold wins.
Sounds pretty simple, just collect lots of sets, but you don't know what your face-down cards are, and lots of those cards have powers that are going to affect you.
Some of the powers activate when you play them into your storehouse, like putting the top card of the discard pile back onto the deck, or gaining an infamy to peek at any face-down card in your storehouse. Others activate when you sell a set. With the hypnotic toad, you give another player 5 infamy, and with the floating carpet, you gain an extra card into your hand.
Cards with this symbol are always active when they're face up. The haunted doll can't be replaced, and the magic boomerang comes back to your storehouse when you try to replace it. Other cards are played for a special one-time use. They don't go into your storehouse. With Pandora's Lockbox, you can gain 5 infamy and swap a face-down item from your storehouse for a revealed one in someone else's storehouse.
I like the variety of the cards, even with their different values. You can choose to go after those easier to get sets, but they might not be worth as much. Or do you go after those really valuable cards, but that could be kind of risky because some of them are worth a lot of infamy if you don't complete the set, or there might just not be many of them in the deck.
Yeah, you can choose how aggressive you want to be and how you want to influence or attack others. Maybe give them infamy, maybe trade with them, or steal from them.
Yeah, I didn't feel like the game was overly mean though, but our group is a little more conservative and less attacky. Mainly it was holding onto cards in your hand that you knew other players needed for their sets.
In one of our games, we probably should have been more aggressive and attacked Melissa because there was one game where she was right on the edge of going over the infamy track, but it never happened.
Yeah, I had to manage that infamy really well. I started putting cards into my storehouse like the Hypnotic Toad and the Bottled Fairy, which actually help you reduce your infamy. And then I was careful about just which sets I went after.
The illustrations are well done, and it's fun to look at all the different artifacts that are in the deck, and some of them are even scary, like the Skeletomicon. And the graphic design is well laid out, with the different amounts of gold for the sets you get on the left side, and on the right side, how much infamy you might get.
The game scales for different player counts by either adding cards or removing them from the deck, and the player aid actually lists the exact number of cards so you can see which ones are common and which ones are rare.
I thought it played as well at 2 players as it does at the higher player counts, although with 2 player there is a variant for when the inspection triggers. The turns are pretty fast, and the action cards are fine regardless of the player count.
This is a lightish game. It's easy to learn. I thought the instruction manual was well done, and even the actions on the cards are easy to understand.
The Press Your Luck's pretty good too, right?
Right, yeah, there is some luck with the cards that you draw, but you still have decisions to make on how risky you want to be with your sets. And I must admit, I think it's pretty awesome when you unexpectedly make a set during the inspection when you flip your cards over.
Yeah, it happened to me a couple times. It was really fun. So if you enjoy lighter games, if you like Press Your Luck, if you like the set collection, the magical theme, then check out Arcane Alley from Strange Space Games, coming to Kickstarter in November 2018. Be sure to subscribe to Tantrum House. The turns go pretty fast, and something else. There's something else.
Card actions.
Card actions. And you should go subscribe.
Just don't choke on your spit. And don't put that in there.
I won't put that in there.